Good afternoon. This is Ron Brown again. It's 1:06 in the afternoon Central Time. The market's strong today. Evidently, they like the jobs report because the futures shot up and have pretty much held up all day. Anyway, this week I'm going to add to my Prospecting with HES Investor series, and I've added some scans and I call it one-step prospecting. This is probably a little misleading, but you'll see what I'm up to when I get into it. I'm not going to cover everything today, but I'm going to show you an example or two. There's a new June add-on which will contain the new scans. That means you have to be a subscriber to my Insider Club. As always, the market is your teacher, and any stock index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell, and all trading strategies are used at your own risk. Now, what I'm adding this week are two category trades: one-step prospecting long trades and one-step prospecting short trades. I'm only going to talk about some of the long trades. Now, I've been keeping a record of the group inclusion report for a long time, and also HCSI keeps an automatic copy of it now every day going back 1 year, and I've noticed that a lot of these winning stocks come up in the top 50 group inclusion report. So most of these scans are based upon combinations of using the group inclusion report plus other groups. So for example, on this first one, 20% revenue and EPS growth on the stocks, and then they have to be, not only have these characteristics, they have to be in the top 50 group inclusion report. So I'm going to bring up the filter and show you how I put this together. These have to be group members of the CanSlim group. I just use CanSlim. These are not true CanSlim stocks, but they do meet the requirements for earnings growth based upon 20%. So this is generated every day from my User SmartGroups, and then here is the top 50 group inclusion report. What it does is it accesses the most recent day every day. So what this gives me is a list of stocks which pass the 20% revenue and earnings requirement, plus are also in the top 50 group inclusion report. So this is what it looked like last night when I downloaded it, and this is the end of day. You can see there are some familiar names in here, and this is what they look like intraday. Now, yesterday a lot of the, or I should say some of the precious metal and mining stocks were in here. You can see there are three of them, and they're down today. In fact, one's down 9.89 minus 980 percentage. But this group has been strong, and with a strong market today, money flowed out of some of these precious metal stocks, and it's going into other groups. But let me resort on this, and you can see that several of these stocks that pass the earnings growth and the top 50 are up today. In fact, here's one that's up 20.25%. I'll bring up a chart, and you can see that it's made a big move. It's been moving up over the past several days. Now I'm going to go through some of these other groups here and just show you what I've done. So these contain the earnings and revenue growth plus the top 50 GIR, but I thought I wanted to put this in here under 1C and 1D, 20% revenue and EPS growth, BPA bullish. In other words, they have to have a bullish flag on these, but these are not necessarily in the group inclusion report. So looking at this, you can see that there are several of them that are up, that have, I should say, the revenue and EPS growth plus a VPA flag yesterday. Moving on down, These stocks have to be in the best of Woodward and Brown plus the top 50 group inclusion report plus have money flow into them as of yesterday. And you can see this range. Everything is either yellow or green, which means there was money flow based upon my filter. So these are all in the best of Woodward and Brown, and there's only 10 stocks in there. So this is a pretty good testimony to the fact that stocks appear that are in the top 50 GIR. A lot of them are going to be in the best of Woodward and Brown. So this is the end of day, and here's the intraday. You can see that the mining stocks are down today, but some of the other stocks continue to go up. This SEZL has been a tremendous winner over the past several weeks. It turned around here and has been moving up, and it continues to go. I posted this in the the former Skype group, which is now Teams. By the way, if you want to get involved in Teams and get on the board, a lot of people really haven't switched over, but if you do, send me an email and I'll send you an invitation. So just remember this stock, SEZL. I'm going to refer to this as I move along. So these are in both WB Top 50 and Money Flow moving in. Now this next one is just the Top 50 Group Inclusion Report with Money Flow, and there are 33 of these. Notice how long many of these have crossed over, but they just continue to go up. Now here's the intraday version of that. A lot of these are up today. This is Top 50 Group Inclusion Report, Money Flow in, plus my continuation signals, which require that a stock is above its 3 and 6 day moving average. It's getting a pocket pivot volume buy signal or an effort to rise signal. Now these are the continuations. A lot of them are down today, but look what's down, mostly the precious metal and mining stocks. There are several in here, and you can see how many there are. So, and those are the ones that are pulling back today. And then finally, in the long side, perfect speculator, these are stocks that are hitting a 52-week high or a 3.25 year high. They're also in the top 50 group inclusion report, and money is flowing in. There's an end of day and an intraday here also. So there's that SEZL again. Now on the short trades, I've only got a couple in here, potential short sales. These are Woodward and Brown groups. And here's the intraday version. You can see a lot of them are down today. And then these are potential short sales with a VPA bearish flag. And here's the intraday. A lot of these are up today because the market is so strong. But I just want to show you quickly what you can do with this to see how these are performed in the past. So I'm just going to use this 20% revenue and EPS growth, the top 50 group inclusion report. Now, that filter is right here, and when I click on the designer, and then click up here and select this, I'm going to clear this. What I'm going to do is move down, and notice I've selected the filter. Top stocks group inclusion report is the name of the filter. You can see that. And then I'm going to go down to user groups, my non-index groups, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the best of Woodward and Brown, and I'm going to use June, May. I'm going to use March through June. I'm going to check the children, top 50 group inclusion report, same thing, then check children. And then say OK. Remember, the filter is in place, so I'm just going to see the results of these stocks here. And I generated a group inclusion report, and you can see that Carvana is the top stock, and it shows when these were appearing. It goes back to April 2nd. I don't believe I went beyond that. And then here is April 2nd in the best of Woodward and Brown in the top 50 group inclusion report. And let's look at SEZL. This is the one I showed you. It started appearing on April 17th. And then the 24th and 28th. And then I think it had a pullback. And then it started coming up again. And it was also appearing in the group and inclusion report all of these other times. So let's just take a look at it. 417. Let's see, looking down here at the bottom, 424, that's 422, let's see, 415, 16, 17. It appeared in best of Woodward and Brown clear back here at 417. It started appearing in the top 50 GIR clear back on March 21st, which would be right here. I just lucked out and clicked on that. If you look down here, you'll see that's where it appeared. And then there was a pullback. And on 417, let's see if it shows up here, right here. It was showing up, well, it was actually showing up on 414 through the 17th, 4 days in a row. Okay, right here, these 4 days, and then it pulled back. There was a little pullback, and it appeared on 422, 23, 24, 25, 28. 422, right here. So all along here, it was appearing in the top 50 group inclusion report, and it wasn't appearing in the best of Woodward and Brown on that day, but it was appearing in the top 50. So it's not always going to appear in both, because there's only 10 stocks in best of Woodward and Brown, and there's 50 in here. But I'm just showing you that this stock has been coming up for a long time, and you'll find that in a lot of these stocks that appear in the top 50. Okay, I'm going to flip over. I'll update the prices and just go to drop down to the intraday. Let's see what Sizzle's doing today. SEZL. It's up another 541 today. And it's been long with the 3-6 crossover and the VPOT crossover, 40 days now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you something else here you can do. I'm going to go back to the group inclusion report. In the group inclusion report, I'm going to go over here to the dollars. And the group I selected is this same group right here. And what I'm going to do is that data started coming up around April 17th, so I'm going to go from the April 18th to yesterday's close, and let's just see how this stock has performed. I'm going to overwrite an old HTML file, and let's make this full screen and look at the SEZL Consumer Finance. Start date at 421, start price 42.66. End price as of yesterday, and it's up again another 5% today, up 190.04%. Now, by using this filter, when I run this, it's going to give me performance on all of these stocks, what they've done since that day. Now let's look at some of these other ones. Dave is up 154. Now all of these may not have been coming up on that day. So I did this just really to look at what SEZL did from when it was really showing up in the scan. Okay, I had to close the program. Camtasia froze up on me and I had to reopen everything. Anyway, what I want to do is I want to go back in and select the groups. I'm still in this intraday version of the 20% revenue and EPS growth in the top 50 group inclusion report. So I need to go into the designer. I need to rerun this. I'm selecting the filter, but I have to go in now and go into my user groups and reselect those. I'm going to, on the top 50, I'm doing back through March. Check children and the best of W and B back through March. Check children, which highlights all the stocks underneath. And let's run this again, see if it works. Okay, the applied filter is there, and I wanted to find Dave when it first started showing up. Here it is right here, other financial services. Started showing up in the best Woodward and Brown on May 8th. In the top 50, clear back March 24th and 25th, and then it dropped off for several days and started reappearing in April. So let's see if we can find a 5.7, 5.8 in here. Here it is. Here's 5.8. Best Woodward and Brown. Top 50 GIR. 5.7, 5.6, 7, and 8. It was coming up. Didn't make the best Woodward and Brown, but it started coming up 5.6. So let's just look at a chart at 5.6 on Dave. Wow, look at this. Big gap up. Let's see, this is 5.2, 5.5. Started showing right here in the top 50 before the earnings gap up. I am assuming that's an earnings gap. And right here is 5.7. And it appeared in Best Woodward and Brown on 5.8 after the gap up. So I could run the profit from these dates. I'm going to run it after it showed up in Best of Woodward and Brown. So showed up in 5.8. We'll run it from 5.9 on. And I may go back and look at the earlier since it started appearing in the top 50 earlier. So 5.9 through yesterday's close. Okay. Dave is up 37.28% since the day after the Bible gap up. So up considerably since then. Sizzle's up 67.20, and TSS Engineering Services up 129%. Let's see when TSSI first started appearing. Control F, I'm sorry. TSSI. This started appearing 5.16 both on the top 50 and the best Woodward and Brown. So let's take it from 5.17. So I have to do it from the 19th, which would be Monday. The opening price on Monday. And let's see, what's it done since then? Up 19.13% since it started appearing in both groups. Now, some of these stocks just keep going and going. And by looking at the group inclusion report here, you can see when these symbols started coming up. Now Carvana goes back to 4.2. It's in the top 50 right here. And the top best Woodward brand, it's in both of them on 4.2. I'm going to run that, take a look at that, and then we're going to call it a day. I know I'm going through this pretty fast, but I'm just trying to show you some of the capabilities here. So it showed up 4.2, so it'd be the opening price on 4.3 through the close yesterday. Just to overwrite the same HTML. CVNA right here, up 67.29% since it started appearing in both Woodward and Brown and the Top 50 Group Inclusion Report. So getting back to my scans, I know I've gone through a lot of stuff, and I will reinforce this next week, take you through some of these others, but my thinking was I want to look very quickly at stocks that are showing revenue and earnings growth, and they're in the top 50 at the same time. And by combining those two groups, this is my list of stocks that came up today. Now, if I want only stocks that are not in the top 50 but are still showing strong revenue and earnings growth, but have a VPA flag, if you look over at this column right here, you can see these are all bullish flags. I can do that also. And you can see that several of these were up today. Now, if I'm interested in best of Woodward and Brown and money flow in, that selects stocks from those two groups. This is the top 50 group inclusion report and money flow in. Here's the intraday, what happened today. You can see some nice gainers today. And then here is money flow in and continuation with my continuation scan. And then finally, perfect speculator, top 50. These stocks have to be in the perfect speculator scan, the top 50 group inclusion report, and money flow in. And there were 19 of them. Let's see how these did today. Well, some of them did well and others didn't, but once again, it's a mining stocks where there was profit taking today. One final look at SEZL. Look at this thing. It just keeps going. Here's another effort to rise. This is what you call a tight chart. Now, to put it in context, I'm going to go up here. You can see that it's the 3 is well above the 6, and that's, well, it's kind of came together here. This histogram kind of lost its momentum, but it stayed above it, and when a stock is doing that, riding above the 3 and 6, it's really in a strong uptrend, especially if all of the other moving averages are in what's called a fan shape. I'm going to have to let it go at that. I hope that's not too confusing, but I'll be going over this more and more. What I'm looking for is I don't want to spend hours looking for stocks. I just want to look at good stocks that are coming up in multiple user groups or user groups that I've generated in HGSI, which are down here in the User SmartGroups. That's it. Have a good weekend, and I'll be around most of next week.